Economical and effective election methods. The constraint on logical decision-making. The susceptibility law states that an observer perception of an entity, i.e. person, is determined by a subliminal relation between the observer and the person and the attributive particles of the person in relation to position and time. Or the actions, reactions and responses of entities A and B have subliminal effect on their observer, and the judgment of the observer is determined by the respective configurations of A and B and the degree to which A and B attract their observer. An easy example is a person who is an inclination R3 whose designation is D6 who wants to choose between two persons who are inclinations R6 and R7 who have static designations D4 and who might be aspiring to a statutory dynamic designation S1 in time t. Using these formulas. Child's bond, XY, if and only if, woman red hair plus construction worker plus 7, is defined as F element of life potential 2, 5, 6, 7. Woman red hair or construction worker equal inclination R. Status bond, Y dominant, if and only if, construction worker plus woman red hair plus 2, is defined as F element of life potential 2, 5, 6, 7. Pact bond if and only if, construction worker plus woman red hair plus 4, is defined as F element of K spectra 2, 3, 4, 8. Attributive pact bond if and only if, woman red hair plus, construction worker plus S, is defined as F element of K spectra 2, 3, 4, 8. Relative pact bond if and only if, woman red hair plus construction worker plus, T plus 8, is defined as F element of K spectra 2, 3, 4, 8. And relative attributive pact bond if and only if, woman red hair, plus, construction worker plus S, plus, T plus 4, is defined as F element of K spectra 2, 3, 4, 8. Woman red hair or construction worker equals zeta and is defined as R plus D plus 6. These equations prove that R3 and R6 will primarily show each other affection because both share a child's bond, and the relationship between R3 as an investor with an identified 6 and R6 as an engineer or a farmer with an identifier 7 is a status bond with a pact bond. Hence, R3 and R6 have a positive base attraction. Whereas the feeling of R3 for R7 is neutral. Because both don't share a child's bond nor status bond. Therefore, R3 and R7 will primarily treat each other with indifference. R3 affection for R7 is dependent on time. On the other hand, R3 affection for R6 isn't outrightly dependent on time but rather, it is made stronger or weaker by time. At time T8 and T9 on the human susceptibility diagram R3 has an attractions for both R7 and R6 but because R3 and R6 share a positive base attraction R3 is more likely to agree or bond with R6 as an engineer or a farmer. At time T2 and T3, R3 with identifier 6 has attraction for both R7 with identifier 8 and R6 with identifier 7 as presidential candidates but because R3 and R6 share a positive base attraction R3 is more likely to elect R6 as a president in time T2 or T3. At time T7, the attraction between R3 with identifier 6 and R6 with identifier 7 is weakened by time, but R3, as an investor, now has an attraction for R7 or share a pact bond with R7, as an engineer or a farmer, thus may likely vote for R7 as a presidential candidate in an election in country X in time T7. Therefore, the certainty that any option will influence a picker and that the picker will show preference for and make any choices determined by the degree of the picker's complementary attributive particles' harmony with the options augment, position and time. Nonetheless, the human body transduces, transceives, adopts, adapts and has symbiotic capacitance capability, thus, the body is a processor. And as a result, an individual can minutely exercise relative level of willpower that is subsequent to already sequenced influencing and adoptable experiences when making decisions or making choices. On the other hand, when individuals form a group or people form different groups with varying mathematical frame, the majority decisions on a particular matter or choice between A or B is fundamentally a time-triggered reflex decision or choice. Group configuration is subliminal, and a group decision or choice is determined by the extent to which each one of the varying options mathematically harmonizes with the group configuration when measured against time. As a result, the capability of each individual, within a group, to independently make a minutely conscious decision or to reach a conscious compromise is inhibited by time. To put it simply, the person who wins an election, or voter's preference, is a candidate that time has given precedence over others by harmoniously coupling voters with the candidate and the position the candidate is aspiring to, in the substantive year. And any decision that is inharmonious with time triggers off chaos. In conclusion, the right to vote for another candidate in an election doesn't mean that a group of people have gained freedom. One is only seemingly free if one is giving the right to vote for, or elect oneself. Election methods. Belt, aggregatomy, election. Step selection. Odd out. Belt election is a process whereby a contender elects or unelects herself or himself. It is an election process whereby the number of contenders present for an election are counted and each of 4 or 8 boxes are filled with equally sealed numbers from 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to the exact numbers of contenders that are physically present. If there are 8 contenders and 8 boxes, Box A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Box B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Box C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Box D, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Box E, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Box F, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Box G, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Box H, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then each of the contenders shall pick one under seal number from each of the boxes. In the end, each of the contenders shall have 8 under seal numbers. At the instant that all the contender can each count 8 under seal numbers, the boxes should be empty. The Electoral Committee chairperson, or a member of the Electoral Committee, and representatives of the associations or localite unions that have been assigned to confirm shall then do so. Before breaking any of the under seal numbers, each of the contender by themselves shall stamp all their under seal numbers with their associations, localite seals and constituency, state or federal government seal, and also write their own names on all the 8 under seal numbers each have picked, and shall show them to the Electoral Committee to confirm the process. Thereafter, each contender, one after another, shall unseal the numbers one by one for the Electoral Committee and everyone present to see and to keep record. Then each contender shall add the numbers, and one after another, shall announce the total by themselves to the public. The electoral committee shall document and compare each records and thereafter shall announce the winner and archive all evidence. Note: if there are 8 contenders and there are 8 boxes, the aggregate of all the under seal numbers when unsealed and added together must be 288 count. Step selection. There is no doubt that there is a specific field that an individual is more highly proficient in. And as a result, it's very easy to assume that it isn't everyone that can be given the chance to have the brief as head of government. On the other hand, although everyone occupies a distinct position, the complementary nature of these positions and time oscillations that occasionally permit each individual to exercise seeming sense of willpower, which can easily trigger off chaos, if society deny that individual the right, makes everyone to be equal in relation to the state. Nearly everyone should be allowed to contest for any statutory position, if she or he meets a justifiable requirements. Societies should be structured around cooperation. The law should give nearly all members the right or chance to constantly and physically play a part in the process of managing and building that relatively stable state. Because there is no blue blood and no position is divine but the position of an elder. If a person understands the oscillatory sequence of time and knows when all her or his attributes will be simultaneously in sync with time, she or he can easily ascend to any statutory position through conscious design. Step selection is used if nearly all members of a group are qualified and nearly all are aspiring to be elected to positions. If there are too many contenders, they are divided intergroup, then belt election is organized for each group. The contender with the highest score in each group will proceed to the next stage of the elections. Step selection is a repetitive process of aggregatomy election that is fairly used to reduce the number of contenders to a reasonable number until there is a winner or there are winners. Odd out. Odd out, VES, election. Varying evaluation system election, is an election whereby a candidate is elected by contenders. The localate or party that nominates a candidate cannot vote for the candidate and the candidate can only vote for contenders, not herself, himself or the localate she or he represents. If there are 8 contenders representing each of the localate, each of the 8 contenders shall be given 7 barabit numbers. Barabit number a sequence of numbers printed on a compact voting card, which the last number is an odd number that a representative of a localate uses to comparatively rate, or vote for only contenders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 are barabit numbers of 8 contenders. There are 8 localate, as a result, there shall be 8 boxes. A box shall be tagged with only a name of a localate. Therefore, a name of a localate shall differentiate one box from other boxes. The representative won't cast a vote in the box that carries the tag of her or his localate. Each representative shall cast a perceptively comparative vote in 7 boxes only out of 8, with the barabit numbers that the electoral committee has given them. Note: because there are 8 contenders, the total of all the barabit number in the boxes must be 224 counts. Example of basic requirements for a candidate to participate in an election. To vote and to be voted for, a candidate must be employed or self-employed, and must have been working for at least 10 years without default on payment of income tax for at least 8 consecutive years, and shouldn't be in debt to anyone nor any organization at the time of the application nor thereafter, and definitely must have been a member of government-recognized association for at least 4 years. Position of law. A state must have basic plans and common developmental goals of which all groups should rationally and inventively work to achieve. Technique might be slightly different, but it must be aimed at the completion of unfinished projects. It's irrational and retrogressive to allow appointed representatives to set and run a state with spontaneous plans. A group of people that allow their land to be managed in that manner do not have a state. If it is called a state, it is an impromptu state. A state governed by uncertainty. A nation with no direction. It is necessary for societies to give specific representatives in government at some level certain expedient statutory rights that must not be subjected to consultation, but it should not be the right to alter any part of a state law. A state must be structured in a way that gives only the selectors and electors of these representatives, the people who have given the government legitimacy, the right to change the state law, if there is a need to do so. Government is not an institution that is set up for people to act as masters. The only function or duty of any person who has the opportunity to be part of a government in any nation is to serve those who have given her or him the brief. The core function of any person who holds elective position is to manage national resources, and all that are members of the government are mere managers who must be absolutely accountable to their people. Those who have the privilege to head a state can try to convince, or give advice to the people. They must not be allowed to dictate but be made to serve the people. Any change in policy must be subsequent to consultation with, and agreement of the people. Although there are people in government, who can be described as real mentors, people who exhibit qualities that ignite creativity in others, representatives who have the ability to listen, to understand, to compare, to derive, to link, to ignite and to inspire, which are all qualities of a leader, or a core counselor of governments, one who guides governments through. In government, the law leads, everyone else follows. Because government is established by law, runs on law and with law, without the law, there's no government, of which the society has the right to change at will. The society is supreme in relation to the law, whereas the law is supreme in relation to any person or any group of persons. And because a law is the collective and documented agreements of the people and it is the pivot of any government, a state is only led by law, not the people that have been appointed to work in the government.